Afternoon, everybody. Ryan Hilliard here, CEO of Refersion. I want to thank everybody for joining our webinar today. We'll be diving into uh, nailing seasonality and all things really affiliate in 2026. I don't think we included AI in the description, but because I think it was just sort of an underlining concept. So we'll definitely be diving into that. Let me go ahead and pull my guest, Marshall, onto the stage, whom is sporting his green logo. I wore my green T-shirt today, um, not in honor of Nymo and Co. But actually, when I pulled it out, I was like, I mean, I'm doing a webinar with Nymo today, and they're green, so I'll wear this for sure. Marshall, I appreciate you joining me today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. And I never thought about what I was wearing, but every single day I end up in the same thing, green.
You got lots of green.
I even have a green beverage.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Is this
So
just straight matcha or is it a latte as well?
I just drink straight matcha, but I do make lattes. So
Okay.
I also make a Marshall Palmer, which is like a Arnold Palmer with matcha tea instead of regular tea.
That's good. You got the right name for that. I feel like a Ryan Palmer wouldn't. This is roll off the tongue as well. We'll let folks take a minute or so to join. It's 1 Eastern here, but folks are probably coming back from lunch, getting out of meetings, grabbing a refill on coffee. While we're waiting for folks before we dive in, maybe a couple of housekeeping things. I'm seeing some comments already pop in here. If you have any questions, I told Marshall, like, well, there's a few things I'd love to like get his thoughts on and talk about, but it's always more fun for people to feel like I'm just going to pepper this guy that knows a lot about affiliate marketing with my own personal questions. So feel free to add questions in to the chat or situations, or as we're going through it, just add them, and we'll tackle them all at the end versus midstream. Just keep everything sort of flowing, but feel free to do that. We have folks joining on the StreamYard directly as well as on LinkedIn Live, and this will be on YouTube. You can share this link after the fact with folks. You can come back and watch us speak at 2x speed if you want to. Whatever floats folks' boat. While it's 1:02, we'll go ahead and get started. Today, as I mentioned before, I have Marshall Nyman, who's the founder and CEO at Nymo & Co. Marshall, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your background and maybe a little bit more about Nymo. But I'm really excited to have you on. We've done a bunch of these webinars around marketing topics. We've gotten a little bit away from affiliate and content, mostly because it's good to mix it up when your Refersion is an affiliate tracking company. We could talk about affiliate all day long, maybe get a little bit boring every webinar. So it's cool to be back in the space. Definitely interested in picking your brain about the things that we had put together. But maybe just to start, love to hear, and I think our audience would love to hear as well, just a little bit about your background and how you came about with Nymo & Co. and like your guys' sort of focus when it comes to an approach for affiliate marketing, because different agencies have sort of different mindsets and approaches to this. I'm going to stop rambling and let you introduce yourself and where you work.
Hey, everybody. Marshall Nyman, founder and CEO of Nymo & Co. Appreciate you having me on. Been in the affiliate marketing space now for a little over 15 plus years. Started Nymo & Co. 9 years ago and just kind of started on a little bit of a whim. Was working in the e-commerce space, and Buddy asked for some support on a brand he was working on. And I asked him, are they doing anything on the affiliate marketing side? He said no. And that's kind of really what got Nymo going. Didn't think much of it at the time. And then fast forward 2020, everybody remembers what was going on then. With the pandemic, everybody just started leaning into affiliate marketing and couldn't look away anymore and went full-time in the business. And it's been a fun ride since. Nymo is a boutique affiliate marketing agency, and we work with direct-to-consumer brands, helping them to establish an effective affiliate program.
Cool. What was the first sort of like campaign or partner? Not that we're giving just shout outs to anybody here, but do you recall like this is exactly what we did?
The very first brand that we worked with was a clothing brand, and they sold blanks, just like Hanes and,
Okay.
simple shirts. And that was the very first one that kind of got us off the ground. And then one of our longest standing clients that we had for about almost 7 years that we got launched in the very beginning was a cast iron skillet brand. And so that was kind of like one of the very early brands that we worked with and helped get Nymo off the ground. And so, the early e-commerce brands really were just great to work with. A lot of opportunity.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we talked about this before when we did the reverse of this when I was on your podcast, but I was at an agency for 8 years and worked with a lot of small direct to consumer brands. It's just exciting, right? Because you're just so close to somebody that's doing these things and seeing that impact. And I think probably even more exciting on the affiliate influencer side of the coin versus like the paid ads, pure paid ad side of the coin, because that's not very creative. But things that can go viral or really take off and you see that impact, it's cool to see that happen for brands.
Yeah, they start out, they have one or two SKUs. They're just focused on that one product. And then, a year or two later, they're introducing a couple additional SKUs. And then
Yeah,
a few years later, they have a couple new product lines. And so, you know, you go from marketing one or two things to having this whole catalog, and it really gives you the ability to grow the program and do a lot of fun things. And so we love working with early stage brands.
that's cool. You mentioned 2020. For folks that don't remember, big pandemic. Everybody thought we were never going to leave the house again, so we just do everything online. Sort of a good segue into like the first question. We get this question a lot, but maybe you can even sort of track it back to those days and like sort of that method of finding recruiting affiliates, like what's effective, and maybe even like further back, but like how has that changed? Where does using AI and automation come into play? How much of it is like we've got this bench of folks that are in this category and we just sort of continue to go to them because it's relevant? What is working well for you all when it comes to recruiting affiliates these days, 2026? So much noise, so many new products, so many brands, constant changes on platforms. I don't think I need to set up the question any further than that. Like, how are you guys doing it? What seems to be working well without giving away all of the secret sauce if you don't want to?
Well, there's no shortage of types of affiliate partners, and that's one of the nice things over the last decade or so that you've seen is there's just more partners and there's more types. Originally, there was really only a couple types, a lot of bottom of the funnel stuff. Now you're seeing partners across the funnel. So you can have content sites, you can have coupon sites, loyalty partners, tech partners, cash back, card linked offers. Really, like, there's so many different ways to work in the affiliate channel. So when we think about like what affiliate should be in the program and who we're going to go after, we really just think about like where is the customer and like where are they doing their research and what are they doing in their process to become educated. And we want to get in as many of those places as possible. So that way, when someone's starting their buying journey, maybe they don't even know they need a product, but maybe they have a question that they're trying to get answered. And then once they get that question answered, maybe then they're looking at a product and doing a comparison. And then maybe they're getting down to a shopping site and then a loyalty partner, whatever that journey is. Like, you want to kind of follow that customer journey and you want to work with affiliates across that journey that are relevant to your customer, going to help promote your brand. So I just try to mimic that exact journey the customer is going to take. And then those are the partners that we're going to look to onboard.
Okay. For early stage brands, like my favorite quote, and I think data-driven marketing sort of is to blame for this, but as long as it's a vending machine, I can put in my dollar and I get my dollars back. Folks are game to do everything. But when you're an early stage brand, it may be maybe early stage in general or early stage to affiliate, but like kind of established with other channels. Do you take the same approach in terms of like the kind of mix, or do like kind of need them to see some of this bottom of the funnel stuff pay off and then we can sort of move up? Or no, we sell them on this is the process, like get with the program or don't get with the program. Like what's your approach? This is also not like a setup question. I don't think we talked about this, but I'm just curious how you approach it as more as a business. Like, what's your philosophy? Like, it's got to be this way to do it right, or is it? I get what you're saying. Let's get them some traction, then we try to move up the funnel, which I don't think is wrong either. It's just a little bit of a mindset shift.
There's no one way to run an affiliate program. And what makes affiliate marketing, I think, very unique to a lot of other channels is there's no real playbook. Every partnership looks different. And so I would never say, hey, this is the way that we've done it in the past. It has to be this way. I think we try to really cater every affiliate program towards the brand's goals, and towards the person that we're working with. Like sometimes like a brand has goals and then a new person comes in and those goals change. And so sometimes the affiliate strategy shifts a little bit. So we try to present what we think as experts would make the most sense, but we try to align that with the goals of the brand. So if they want to say, hey, we only want content sites, then that's fine. If they say, hey, we want full funnel, we're trying to grow fast and we want a more diverse publisher set, then we're open to that as well. So we really take all of that account when we launch a brand and think about all those different things. So that's how we decide, what playbook to follow. It's not a one size fits all approach.
Okay. And I guess to some extent also like managing those expectations of like output and commission rates of like, yeah, we can really focus here on these content publishers, but like, we're not going to give them 2% and expect high volume tomorrow. Like this is a process. And so there is that sort of key alignment. Do you see approaches that do seem to be more effective for like newer entrants to affiliates? I ask this because a lot of times we have people sign up for Refersion all the time that they sort of come in expecting like, I want to see it just kind of work, but they mismatch the kind of partnerships, right? They're like, I just want to kind of see it work, but I'm choosing a big influencer and we're going to pay them 50% of like a fixed rate. And they got all these followers. It's really, really expensive. It's like, well, I probably pump the brakes on that. Like you're not quite aligned here. Like I get that you want to see impact, but sometimes you're a little bit off. For newer brands, is there a sort of recommendation like, hey, you just this is how you get into this and begin to see traction, assuming that their website's already converting, they're already driving customers, like that's not the problem. It's more like this is a new channel.
It's just going to take time. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You have partners that you're trying to work with. Like it's not paid media where you're just saying, hey, I want to work with these partners. Here's the money, run the campaign.
Yeah.
You're asking the publisher to take the risk on you. So there's kind of like two areas. Either it's a area that they don't have a lot of traffic on, so you're asking them to write about something that's not really relevant. So it doesn't make sense for them to invest their time on, or it's something they're already writing about. And if they're already writing about it, it's probably generating revenue. So they're not just trying to say, hey, you're a brand new company, we're just going to put you in the top position. Like they want to know the product. They want to make sure that you can convert on your site, that it's viable for them. So it takes a little bit of time to get the partnership off the ground, let them see if it can perform, and then you can start to grow it. But it's not like you're just going to email a publisher, say, hey, we're selling XYZ, and they're going to put you in the top position. Like there's a lot more that goes into it. And I think sometimes brands think it's just a quick ask and, they're going to do that because why not? We're paying them a commission. That's enough, but that's really just not enough. It's got to be
my product is so awesome and the offer's so good.
Even a good product isn't enough anymore. Like the commission rate has to be right. The funnel has to be set up so it compensates the right partners too. So it's not just like, here's a link anymore. It worked that way in the beginning because there wasn't as many partners. And so it could be lucrative to somebody, but now there's a lot of opportunity for everybody. So people are going to go with what partners are going to perform the best for them.
Yeah, I think, and it's a bit tongue in cheek, but it's recognizing, like a lot of times marketers are competing for like a consumer's like share of wallet. This is more like a publisher's share of voice. Like to your point, if it's a category that's working really, really well, it's perfectly aligned. They're comparing you to something that measurably does well. And so like, that's hard. You can't just be like, oh, I'll do better than what's already. They have lots of data. And then on the flip side, if they're not talking about it at all, prove yourselves. And that middle ground doesn't always exist because they're optimizing their own process. They're trying to lean into what works well and like figure out how to broaden. What there's not like a defined playbook, but do you like? I think you've mentioned before, like when you guys talk to folks, you'll do like audits and kind of analyze what's going on in the program, and we'll see from folks. We'll talk to folks where they're like, "Hey, I don't feel like this is driving what I'm expecting." And it's not necessarily this is a fixed thing, but like, how do you approach like mix here where it's like you're super bottom of the funnel or you're exclusively top of the funnel, and maybe you're looking at their goals and you're saying like, the reason that you're not seeing what you want is because you're kind of out of balance here. But do you like, how much do you put into, let's look at what's actively happening here, and it's an optimization, and like we need to find new partnerships versus like it's just offer tweaks with the existing folks, and like we can just kind of mess with some knobs and here and there and get much more. Or you could take this question sort of whichever way you'd like, but I'm curious.
It's a little bit of both. I would say like when we come into a program, a lot of times like the attribution isn't set up to give the right partners the best opportunity to win. And so if you're going to have a full funnel program, you have to make sure that every partner has a chance to win at a conversion. If it's only set up where only last click publishers like a coupon publisher are going to get credit, then they're the only ones that are going to see attribution. And so you're not going to drive content partners to write content about you long term. If you have a program that's set up to compensate partners across the funnel, and so there's maybe certain things that you implement with some of those tweaks as you were mentioning, how you set up the commission rates, how you set up the rules around couponing and tracking and stuff like that, so all the attribution isn't just kind of falling into one partner. So that's kind of like how we approach it. And then the other side is bringing on new partners. Like that's the biggest way to grow an affiliate program is to bring on new partners that can drive traffic. It's easy to always rely on the same few partners, but you kind of get to a point where they can only grow so much. You can only get so much new growth out of a partner that you've been working with for 3, 5, 10 years. So finding those new partners is really the name of the game.
Yeah, and I think even huge established publishing businesses, you can see like it's not always going to be what it is, right? Whether it's major changes in how people consume media. I mean, a couple years ago, when I was at my last company, like everybody thought TikTok was going away. Like channels can sort of disappear and then not actually disappear, but sort of, it gets a little bit weird. What do you? This sort of put this question up here because it sort of leads into this too, but do you also incentivize other non-conversion behaviors? Like, do you look at like, okay, click volume, like let's recognize other activity when we're measuring, because it's still a sign of good stuff that maybe isn't paying off yet. And maybe, the publisher or the partner is like a little grumpy because they're not getting as much credit, but like looking at other indicators to either handle attribution or reward that commission payout or some sort of incentive. How do you maybe a little bit more on that like attribution piece beyond like rules for like what kind of redemption it is, but anything else that you would dive into that you're like, this is just common missed thing, right?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just attribution is a little bit of a challenge right now. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, is like, how do we properly give credit to everybody? Everything was one way for a very long time. You looked at something on the web, you went to the next page by clicking on it, they dropped the cookie. There was nothing blocking cookies. Everybody was clicking the links. Everybody was getting credit. It worked, right? Now, everything's getting scraped. Nobody's clicking on links. Cookies are getting deprecated. Like there's so many things that are making it more challenging for tracking that you now have to actually look at those other things and say, how are they impacting the brand? And so maybe there's a piece of content that is super valuable for you. And so it's getting a lot of visibility, but it's not getting a lot of clicks. And so it's not getting any attribution. And then maybe there is other partners in the program that are getting attribution. So should you maybe work with that publisher on a one-off to maybe create some additional content and pay them a flat fee? You know, is there some sort of way to work with them to give them some type of attribution? Like, if you find value in what a publisher is doing, I think the most important thing to do as a brand is find some way to compensate them for that. I sometimes hear a brand go, oh, they already wrote the content, like we don't want to pay them for it. So like, that's kind of a, okay, well, it happened in the past, and it's never going to happen again in the future. But if you want to compensate somebody for something they did in the past, and you know, you want to give them an opportunity to earn, then they're probably going to create more content about you going forward as well. So I think, like, if you're looking at what's happening and you're able to put some attribution around it, hey, there's a value for getting this, there's a value for getting that, then you want to pay those partners for that. So I think we're going to see like a pretty major shift in how everything is paid out towards publishers in the next, you know, few years, with the way AI is starting to scrape the data. But you know, it's messy. Like it's not as easy as it once was.
Yeah, and going back to like recognizing the content folks create, and more influencer specifically at my last company, we would see this happen where it's like people would treat the investments like part of this is just for this asset that we can use in other places because it's going to drive better conversions for our paid social ads. And like that mindset of, well, how much would it cost to produce this separately? Well, if it's valuable, like let's try to treat it as value, because we do like this partnership. We do want there to become more from it. And if we treat it too transactionally, they don't want to engage with you ever again, because it's just how it worked. I mean, to some cases, maybe you've got budgets and you can't just do whatever you want, but trying to recognize that effort. What about, how do you guys see the involvement with like other channels? Because I imagine as an agency managing an affiliate program, like you've got like, well, our paid ads agency or like our in-house SEO guy is saying this and that. Like, how do those conversations around, I know they're going to vary for every single company, but like, how do you tend to see like the most successful brands treat like all of these channels that compete for the, like they all have their UIs. They're like, I got the click, I got the conversion. No, I got the click. And it's all one conversion. How do you think about that? Or like, how would you like coach a brand that's maybe going through some of that like infighting, like kind of look at it this way, this is useful, knowing it's going to vary, but
yeah, getting away from the competition, it can get very competitive between one channel and another. I think everything was very siloed for a bit, and now what we're seeing is everybody's got to work closely together, because it doesn't matter what marketing channel you are, you kind of need the other marketing channels to be aligned with your strategy. And so if everybody has their own strategy, there's no alignment. So you really need like a strategy that's coming from the top of the marketing team all the way down. And that seems to build the most effective marketing approach. So like, if you think about the way things are now, you know, you have like affiliate marketing, you have influencer marketing, you have SEO, you have PR, you have like all these things that work very closely together. But if they all are driving their own goals, like they're not really helping each other. But if it's like, hey, let's have a campaign that can drive results around X, and so you have an SEO strategy around that, you have an influencer strategy to support that, you have a PR strategy to support that, and the same thing on the affiliate side, you're going to see a lot more results. And so that's kind of what I see, is just everybody's got to work closely together. Some of the infighting's got to end. I think a lot of channels also kind of controlled the budget before, and now we're seeing that some of the affiliate budget is actually coming from paid media, because some of the stuff that is happening is now on the affiliate side. So you're looking to work with publishers, you know, buy traffic and stuff that was happening on other sides. So the wall with the budget's breaking down a little bit. It always was like, oh, affiliate can't have any budget. Like everything's on a performance basis. And now we're saying, okay, you know, maybe we need to give a little bit of budget to the affiliate channel. Maybe we even need to give a little bit of budget to the SEO channel, because they're working to get content placements that are going to help them with visibility in AI search, which you never talked about giving a budget to SEO outside of maybe some tools and technology. So everybody's got to work closely together on a dedicated strategy, on a dedicated budget, because the thing about the budget is when everybody works in a silo and they focus on their own thing, all of the conversions are still touching every channel and every budget. So it makes more sense to have one cohesive strategy to go after everybody together.
Yeah, it definitely feels like when I was at NC State, like integrated marketing communications was like a few courses is all about big brands, giant brands, right? Giant CPGs, super coordinated, integrated efforts across everything. And then when paid search sort of showed up, it was, well, but I could just do this and just like I could just drive revenue, which I think for a smaller retailer, it's like, yeah, that can work fine. Like this is the only thing that you're doing. But as you grow as a brand, you do more things. And it's like, well, if I'm doing more things, I can't treat them all that way because they don't function that way. So then you do have to take a step back and be like, well, how do these big brands build these big brands? By taking a very integrated approach. Like they understand consumer psychology and like how people are interacting. They're not just throwing money around. Maybe in some cases they do, but like in general, like they're pretty scrupulous. Is that the right word? With where they're going to put money and effort. And so I think the big brands that you see on the big D2C brands you see on Instagram aren't always huge brands, but they've definitely built themselves off of that very integrated, coordinated approach. Like we're launching this new product and we're going to support the launch of this new product. We're not going to launch it and then say, prove yourself. It makes no sense if you want to be successful, I think. So it feels like we're sort of shifting back. That's what everything does, right? Like clothing styles and affiliate marketing in general. It's like everything's always sort of shifting back and forth between eras. Hard right turn, because this is sort of the topic of the discussion from a title perspective, but like going into seasonality, like we're going into Prime Day, I think is a couple of weeks away.
Yeah,
Summer season can be weird for e-commerce folks. Or when is it? Did you say?
It's 3 weeks out.
Yeah, 3 weeks away. Summer could be weird for some e-com brands. Summer could be huge. One of the things that folks for summer or for Q4, like they start to bank on these channels. How do you go about, like, you've got a summer client, so you've done this months ago. You got a Q4 client, like building an affiliate program for that holiday season, like the crush of sales are going to happen. All of the affiliates are going to be doing lots of other promotions. Influencers are doing lots of other promotions. Channels are going to, like, competition's really going to ratchet up. What's some prep recommendations, timelines, things that you'd say, like, especially maybe even for newer brands with affiliate, like their big first season, or maybe they botched their first season, they just weren't quite ready. What would you say goes into effective seasonality planning?
Well, everybody usually botches the first one or two. I think people want to like test things or just throw a budget because it's Q4 or maybe their peak period, and so it's like we gotta invest, but it's like that's actually like the worst time for brands to test and invest. It's better to do it during the quieter periods and really figure out what works for your brand, what doesn't, and then you could double down on that in the peak period. So every brand is going to have a different peak period. So like we're coming right out of a period with Mother's Day and kind of heading into Father's Day in a few weeks and a little bit of graduation. So it's kind of like the end of the buying season. If you have a summer brand, it could be the beginning of the spike. But like if you have a summer brand and today's June 4th, like whatever you've planned. Like there's not too much you're going to do today for an affiliate program for a summer brand to implement and drive actual results. So if you're a summer brand, like soon as Q4 is over, like January 1st, like you got to start your pitches and getting in front of editors and figuring out who your partners are going to be. And if there's things that you want to test, start testing it early in the quarter. And then, within a few months, like you have everything for the summer buttoned up. But, whatever your product is, you got to be prepared and you got to get to people ahead of time. You can only do so much once you're in the period. So, if you're trying to plan for Q4, really now is the time to start. So I would say summer is when we start planning for everything. By the time the summer's over, if you don't have a Q4 plan in place, it's probably too late to really start putting something successful together. I think you really have to look at what you've done in years past, what your goals are for this year, and really look at what the market conditions are as well. That always has a big impact on where things are going to go. And that can kind of lead you to what success will look like for you for Q4. But I would just double down on what works well. And you want to test that well before those peak periods. But you definitely want to also use those peak periods to drive as much opportunity as possible. So it's all about getting those partners outside of that then.
Yeah. So there's no real like sneaky tip here because
it's being organized and prepared. That's like really the tip. It's not like there's like some sort of trick to get Q4 coverage or get summer coverage in the middle of those periods. Like in Q4, like a week before Black Friday, like unless you're like one of the largest global brands on earth,
that's true.
You're really not going to get too much attention from an affiliate.
Yeah. So if things aren't going as planned, probably best to reflect back on what was the plan. Are there things though that you see where it's like, hey, this is doing better than we expected? Like this, can we in the moment lean into like, hey, let's get this partner to, let's incentivize them to like push it further, or if it's video content, like, hey, let's real quick try to turn this into something that we can leverage for paid ads because it's just doing more than we thought. Are there areas where like, hey, if you start to see something like taking off further, you can still place more chips down on it? Maybe you can't, but like how could you
no, if a publisher is seeing a piece of content perform, like they can then start to put some like ad dollars behind it. Maybe they want to amplify it on social media. So there's definitely things publishers can do if things are performing well. So there's always opportunity, but in Q4, there's only so many of those opportunities. Now, if you test something in a quieter period and something's performing, it's easier to continue what you're doing. So I think it really just goes back to like, you gotta really be buttoned up before you get into the period, because otherwise it just becomes a learning experience. And I think everybody goes through a couple of those holiday periods before they really know how to tackle it, because it comes up quick, it happens fast, and then afterwards you're like, wait, I have whiplash. So soon as Q4 is over, like it's also beneficial to sit down and say, hey, what happened? Let's debrief. What did we do well? What didn't we do well? Like I remember when we were just getting started at Nymo and we went through one of our first Q4s. There was like a lot of things like we were talking about afterwards on, oh, we could have done this better. We could have done that better. And so we took all those learnings and the next year we implemented that into our process and it was much smoother. So, I think a little bit of just like, you want to have somebody that has experience in those periods so they know how to best amplify you.
Yeah, doing Q4 at the agency that was at, you definitely see like the importance of after it happens is when you do the review, you take all of the notes, you make the adjustments, because next fall rolls around, you're like, what big changes why did we do this? I don't like, you just simply can't keep the context in your head. And so building it into that plan early, leaving the notes and the details and like the whys, I think goes a lot further shortly thereafter. Marshall, last question.
I mean, the trick to winning in Q4 is decided by the time Q1, Q2, and Q3 are over. So that's really the trick, is to be ahead of the game before you get to Q4 instead of behind.
Yeah, definitely. And for affiliates specifically, it's like always remembering like they're cues, right? People are building cues for when they're going to be doing content. And so it's building, right? Like publishers are not like, oh, it's just December 1st, better put together this gift list idea. Like, so you had to be there earlier, right? You just had to establish that relationship earlier. If you missed it, it's fine. Like you just sort of invest even earlier the following.
And like,
but just
you kind of bring up a good point. Like, so a gift list, right? Like a brand just assumes like a couple of weeks before they just spin up a gift list. But like a publisher right now, if they're going to write gift lists for Q4, their SEO team, their search team is taking a deep look at those pages on how they can make them as visible as possible for that and drive as much traffic. So I think sometimes you're like, oh, what's the big deal? Just include me in this gift guide here or there. But like they're investing a lot of time and energy to make sure those gift guides get a lot of traction. So it's a process that's starting now. Even for the publishers, they're starting to figure out how they're going to get the most out of Q4.
Yeah. Marshall, my last closing question. We didn't actually go as much into any sort of AI thing, but I think it's so pervasive. But I'm just curious for you, maybe process wise as an agency, like where have you seen, or where you continue to see, or where do you anticipate seeing more leverage from different applications of AI in your guys' process for managing, running, coordinating campaigns, reporting on campaigns? What's your, like, this has been just the biggest win, or like this is going to be the biggest one? And nothing, let's keep it grounded, realistic.
I think the biggest win for me that I'd like to see with AI is that we have a superior tracking solution in place with those LLMs. So like right now, we're feeding them data, but they're not feeding us traffic. And that's kind of the way the relationship was before. We created content and then Google in return sent us that traffic. That pipeline is kind of like changed. And so if we're going to continue to create content, what I'd like to see is specifically with like the LLMs being able to give some sort of credit to either the publisher that drove the sale, or maybe figuring out ways that there was, these 5 publishers that were involved in the sale, and maybe it's weighted a little bit differently. I'm sure we can figure out the attribution on kind of like, who was more valuable, or, how it's split. But I think giving multiple partners credit and starting to really look at who's involved in the process is going to be helpful. I think, we've had a lot of the same tracking for a while. So seeing something that can really be more robust, explain the customer journey, and then allow us as marketers to be more effective. Because I think there's a lot of things to like help us with what we're doing, but I still always feel like we're always just flying a little bit blind on the data side. Like the data is just never as good as we hope for. So that's kind of like the future state and what I'm hoping with AI, but like we're using it everywhere, and it's hard to not. Like, it's just everything has an update now. It's got an AI tool or an AI bot, or the amount of tools and technology we've evaluated over the last year has been insane. And the things that we're seeing is like running an affiliate program is still the same. Like, you need a person behind it. Technology is not replacing that. There is some things that tech is helping us with, as far as like research and figuring out, like, maybe there's some partners that we wouldn't have had found in the past, or maybe as easily. So I think there's some tools that are helping with that. But at the end of the day, like, affiliate marketing is partnership marketing, and it's relationship driven. So you can use AI as much as you want, but you still have to develop those relationships. And so getting to events, seeing people in person, having webinars, all of that is still going to be a key piece of it. And there's no one way to run an affiliate program. With some of the other channels, like A plus B equals C, like affiliate, it's not necessarily like that. Like, it's not a mathematical equation. And so there's a lot more things that go into a program that are going to limit AI and robots taking over so quickly. But I'm sure we'll see some of it start to be implemented more and more. But we're really using it more on the strategy, the research, and the growth side, versus like running the actual programs. We still really want to see people running that side.
Yeah, it'd be great going more tactically to what you're talking about with the attribution side of things. If you could provide, OpenAI as a data provider, like, hey, here is the Google Analytics view that we use. Just give me some cross-domain visibility into like behavior that is happening. No one's going to surrender more insight to Google necessarily, but that feels like the missing link is like, it's like it's a cross-domain tracking problem, right? It's
I just feel like if the tracking platforms like Refersion and the other platforms out there have some sort of partnership with these tech companies like OpenAI, and et cetera, then maybe there's some way that to share the attribution model. And so like they're saying, okay, you guys, provide the network and everything like that, and then we're able to provide some of the attribution around what's happening, so you can properly compensate the publishers, and then them as a technology get some sort of credit. Obviously, they're going to have to make money. They're still figuring that out. So I think that's kind of like their lifeline, like the affiliate channel. Like let's figure out how we can give commissions to publishers that we're using their content for. Let's take a percentage of that because that makes sense as a business. And they get fed, we get fed, the publishers get fed. It kind of works for everybody. So I'd like to see that. That's kind of, I think, what would make sense. Like, let's get those technologies and these technologies together and figure out a way that we can move forward, because we just want to give everybody credit. That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Give everybody a chance to win. Everybody wants a chance to win.
Yeah, I have, if you recall, maybe 12 years ago when Facebook started their ads, they had, everything was a view through convert. They check impressions based conversions, and you would see this like massive spike of like, Facebook seems to be responsible for 10,000 conversions last week because the impression piece, like that is still like the tricky piece of like, how are we going to, because there's still going to be no click, right? Like the click is still going to not happen if they're designing their tools like they want them to. If they stay there, they get the information that they need. Maybe some of the agentic commerce will help with like, oh yeah, but if they perform the purchase, like we can share that data. But if it informs the research that then happens different session or different day, it'll be interesting to see how you could try to reconcile all that together. But I agree, like you ultimately have to do it because most of these businesses that are driving revenue for ad engines and whatnot, they're small businesses. They need to see inputs and outputs. They can't just like blindly spend $20,000 a month on a channel. They have to be able to measure it. So I think there's a lot more power for those smaller folks, like try to push things that way. So
yeah,
awesome.
It's not a simple. It's not a simple and easy solution. Like it's a big thing, but it's kind of at the point where in order to move forward, it's like a discussion that we all need to have.
It's got to happen. Marshall, I really appreciate your time and insight today. Thank you folks for joining. I kept you an extra 12 minutes, but hope you enjoyed the discussion. Feel free to send in any questions that you may have. We'll follow along since all of this stuff will just be there on YouTube and LinkedIn and StreamYard for years to come. I don't know if it'll ever come off the internet. But Marshall, thank you again for the time. It's always fun to chat with you.
Of course, appreciate the time. Anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. You can find me at www.nymo.co, or you can reach me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy your summers.